Cognition and speech. How does movement lesson help? First of all, guys, we have to get away from here and there. It all works together. So, for cognition and speech, you have to have all the milestones. Let me explain. All of our developmental milestones actually happen before the skull fuses. That happens around 9 to 12 months, 18 months, sorry. And so by 18 months, you are walking, right? Probably running and climbing, right? Get away from the government saying walking by 18 months. I want walking around anywhere from 11 to 13 months. But anyway, you have those milestones happen. That's when a child can start putting together speech. Why? Because when you play with forces of movement, when you can play with 2 or more forces of movement, now you have comprehension and compensation skills, okay? Until then, right, babies aren't responsible for their actions. It's us who say, sticking your finger in the socket is not a good idea, right? Because they'll do anything, and that's what they should be. There's no bad touch, and there's no good touch. There's no bad movement. There's no good movement to a baby. There's no reference to that. Right? When you start playing with 2 or more forces of movement, and the forces of movement is gravity, right? We deal with gravities from the day we're born to the day we die. And momentum, convergence, fine motor skills, gross motor skills. We converge, not just our eyes. Push-pull, right? Being able to, oh, my child doesn't have a vestibular system. Well, you know, again, can't play with those forces of movement. Torque, and control, being able to control, again, 2 or more forces. When this happens, right, that's where you have the cognition. So all these modalities that say, change the brain, change the body, guys, the body makes the brain, right? All of these movements that your baby is making, right, all these millions of movements, not just the 12 milestones, millions of movements go in. The more movements you have, the more cognition you have. How do I explain that too? It's sort of like landing here in Phoenix. You can go all the way up to Flagstaff, which is a city north of me, 2 hours north, and come back down and get to my office. You are still doing it. It's not optimal. It's not efficient, right? Are you still getting here? Yes, you have the locomotion, right? But you didn't go from the easiest point, right? This is why we all rely on Siri. Get us there the quickest, fastest, right? We need Siri for development. Hopefully that's what I'm doing. So, but again, you can take deviations. You still might arrive to the same conclusion, but you're not doing that so efficiently. Now, that being said, and you might say, my child's in a wheelchair, not going to walk. I understand that. But still, this is where the movements come into play. You still work on tummy time. You still work on rolling over. Because guess what? If the brain goes, oh, I've rolled over, because they've experienced through your hands, you're improving cognition. So even though that's why we're about optimal development. So even though a child might be in the deviation 4 category, or what you might say is severe, or max assist, or whatever is your language, or you don't know yet, but still your touch, or touch by Yale, my practitioners, or whatever, I'm not saying you have to come to me or to any of my practitioners. We make it that you can do it, but it's quicker, and you get more on that, oh, I can do this when you're coming to one of my practitioners, right? This is what we're all here for. And again, this is how movement lesson helps with those things. Speech, okay? Guys, it's not about mimicking. Speech comes from all your milestones. You're going to start with tummy time. What does tummy time have to do with speech? Guess what? I'm actually putting my jaw into the floor. I'm weight transferring, crossing midline. My tongue, just lay down in your tummy and do this, like a pre-crawl, and feel just your tongue moving from side to side. Guess what? What do most special needs kids can't do? That's tummy time, guys. In there, you're getting all of that. Now I'm rolling over. Just think of rolling over and what your tongue is learning to do, right? And I'm learning to roll over, and what my tongue is learning to do. If you don't believe me, look at Colonel Chris Hatfield when he came back from space. He goes, I had no idea you needed your gravity affected your tongue. Well, guess what, guys? This is what I've been, doing all of this, right? And so now I'm starting to grab my feet, right? And now, because I can do this and do all of this, right? This now brings my pubic bone strike, which I'm going to be covering in a second. Because everybody's asking about, well, how is this a sign of autism? people think it's STNR, right? But what it is at this stage, at 4.5 months old, it's not that your child planks. They'll actually make an action and pubic bone strike. Your sexes hit the ground, right? And that is, guess what? My tongue comes out of my mouth. Ugh. And that's what that happens. You get tongue protrusion. It can come pat. And if your child's like this, guess what? Your tongue's not coming out of your mouth. So it's all speech and feeding. These milestones matter, right? You can't do one without the other. So even if your child, again, can't experience those things because they have hip subluxation or hip dysplasia and all of a sudden, you still have to work with these movements so the brain goes, oh, I can do that, right? It's not patterning, it's rotation, but it's all of those kind of things. But again, if you don't have the pubic bone strike, when you place your child in independent sitting like this, you might have this. Guess what? I'm lifting, just slouch. I'm lifting my pubic bone out versus here. Here, guess what? I'm crossing midline. But this will be eventually all fours. Here, look at my vestibular here. I look like I'm in prop sitting. Prop sitting is not a milestone. When I'm here, I'm not using my hands to prop sit, but my proportions are right here for later on when I want to scoop. Again, pubic bone strike. When I'm here, no difference from a child to an old lady. I'm old, guys. I don't want to get up like this. I want to get up like this, right? And this is what you're looking for. So if you're wondering why speech and cognition are affected by movement lesson, because we're putting all the pieces in for speech and cognition, right? And if your child can't put in all the pieces for speech and cognition, that's what you've got to do. You've got to create an environment where those kind of things come into play. It's just the easiest, most efficient way of doing it. It's gentle. You can be doing this stuff watching TV at a park. Nobody's going to even know you're doing a lesson. But you've got to start with doing a lesson. But waiting for your child to figure it out, again, I'm after optimal. I'm not here to say there's a problem, then do it. I'm here to say do it so there's not a problem, right? And I'm not saying that's going to guarantee that there's not a problem. Like people go, I've been doing the tummy time course, it's not working. It's not, it is working, but it's not working because you're now showing your child's really got complications. All the more reasons why you have to give more of an effort for that child, because there's no way that child's going to experience it on their own, right? But people aren't looking for that. The whole system is like, okay, we know we're not doing great, but we're here. Let's see what we're doing next month. Oh, we know we're not doing great, so we're here. You're expecting this because they're waiting. They're looking for this. I don't want your baby to be here, and now you're trying to backtrack. You can backtrack using all of this work, yes. But again, knowing where your child's at from day one and helping it from day one and understanding why you're doing it, even just a little bit, is fine. And even if you don't know a little bit, okay, Michelle just says to touch this way, it's going to work. Yeah, you know, it will. If you have weight transfer, transitional skills, and rotation, all functional movement can be created with those skills. I don't care if you're a professional ball player or a baby just trying to figure it out. It's the same skills needed. Not patterning, not copying, not mimicking, but it's the same skills. And that's what needs to be in place. Thanks. Hi, Yale.